Hey everybody, this is your boy TL. This is your Week 5 fantasy football preview. So for Week 5, the quarterbacks, I only have 5 of them to keep an eye on. Eli Manning's at the top of the list. Looks like the Giants are turning a corner and playing a lot better football. He had a pretty nice game against the Redskins. I think he threw 4 touchdowns. So if they can keep that up, he'd be a nice pickup as your backup quarterback or starter if you're desperate. Glennon from the Bucks, I actually believe he's better than their starter. I would have said that before the season, and so now that he's a starter, I think he'll produce pretty decently. I love that he beat the Steelers. Moving on, Bortles and Bridgewater, pretty much copy and paste. They're both rookies. They both have a lot of upside. They both had pretty solid games last week. Bridgewater's banged up right now, but I think he will play Thursday, and so he's a nice pickup on your team as a possible backup. And last but not least, Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a sneaky nice game. They blew out the Patriots at home, and he threw 3 touchdowns, no picks. So, as you know, same Alex Smith, very efficient. Moving on to running backs. Running back is by far my biggest position this week. 3 PPR guys. Roy Halou from the Redskins, Fred Jackson from the Bills, and Sankey from the Titans, all good PPR guys. Actually, I have 2 more PPRs for the total list. Darren McFadden, while Jones-Drew's out, and also Shane Vereen from the Patriots. Patriots pretty much showed the whole world that they're not as good as they used to be, and so that means they're not as good of a team. They're going to be playing from behind more and passing more. So guys like Vereen are going to get more looks, especially PPR format. Moving on for running backs, Trent Richardson, my boy from the Browns. He had a pretty solid game for the Colts. Still has a pathetic yards per carry, but he managed to find the end zone, and he had a decent amount of catches. So he's a decent pickup if you're desperate running back. Ivory continues to be the guy for the Jets. Doug Martin, luckily for me, actually had a decent fantasy game finally, so hopefully he can continue that. Lamar Miller, somebody who I mentioned last week, he had 2 touchdowns. Nice game for him. There's a guy named Smith for the Falcons. He doesn't play very much, but when he plays, he scores. He has long, screens or runs for 40, 60 yards. I believe his name's Antone Smith. But he doesn't play much, but if Steven Jackson goes down, watch out. He could be the real deal. Speaking of the real deal, McKinnon from the Vikings, he had like 130, 140 all-purpose yards. Asiata is the next guy. He had 3 touchdowns. So 3 touchdowns obviously awesome for fantasy, but McKinnon had a really nice yards per carry and over like 130 some yards on the ground, and then some more receiving. So McKinnon's, they say he's an athletic freak, and so now the AP's out, he could continue those numbers. Kyrie Robinson, pretty solid game, about 100 all-purpose yards for the Saints. Looks like the guy while Ingram's out. And last but not least, Nile Davis. Nile Davis managed to have 100 yards after Jamal Charles had his monster fantasy game with 3 touchdowns. So this is one of those things where he's a backup, but he's worth having. Like kind of when Arian Foster used to have Ben Tate behind him, and Ben Tate was still produce as a backup. Same thing here with Nile Davis. Moving on to receivers. There's only 5 that I have on the radar. Randall from the Giants, he had 10 targets, which is nice. Woods from the Bills had 12 targets. It's a lot of targets. That tells you a lot about how much faith they have in Woods. Kendall Wright had 8 targets for the Titans. Eddie Royal continues to produce. I think he had 2 more touchdowns for the Chargers. So he's definitely worth a look in your league. I picked him up in a couple leagues myself. Last but not least, Brandon LaFell. Like I said, the Patriots aren't as good as they usually are this year, so they're going to be playing from behind, having to throw more. I look for those targets to go to Vereen and Gronkowski and Edelman and LaFell. So moving on to tight ends. I have 7 tight ends to check out. There's Donnell. He had 3 touchdowns for the Giants, which is crazy. He was on my bench, of course, so I was a little bitter about that. Lost that game by 4, by the way. My record this week was 2-3. I was supposed to be 4-1, and that Monday Night Football game literally screwed me up so bad I went 2-3. So that sucks. Delaney Walker is a nice pickup. The Titans look at him enough that it's worth it. Dwayne Allen and Coby Fleener both scored for the Colts. Both decent options for you. I have Dwayne Allen in one of my leagues where I had a tight end go down. Owen Daniels is a nice pickup for the Ravens because of the other tight end going down for them. Zach Ertz is a nice target for the Eagles, and Kelsey. I'm all in on Kelsey. Kelsey, there's a lot of hype about him during camp, and he looked. I mean, the Chiefs were throwing him screens, and he was getting 8 to 10 yards every time. So he has great. Looks like he has great hands. Follows his blocks. He's a player. For defenses, the 5 defenses I like as sneaky pickups are the Giants, the Texans, Detroit, Dallas with a question mark, if you can trust them, and Kansas City. And then IDPs, if you have IDPs, are Burnett and Hawk from the Packers, and also Gerard Mayo. But anyways, that's all I got for this week. Feel free to holler at me if you need some individual advice, but I wish you guys the best. It was kind of weird for the Browns not to be playing on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to them beating the Titans on Sunday. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.